Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to grow our channel, and as we continue on with the podcast, we want to start new forms of content. We want to start posting our work here on YouTube. So if you want to see some of that and continue supporting the podcast, please subscribe. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Exordia Creative Podcast. And you know what, guys? For the first time in a long time,
you got a surprise for us.
We don't have bubbly.
Is that the surprise?
That's a surprise.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
flat.
I've got my honey lemon tea that I'm gonna dunk and see if I can pick that up.
That's a good ASMR.
Cool. All right, we're
Sponsored
live.
by Tim Hortons.
Yeah. So what's good, dude? Happy long weekend. We just realized both together yesterday that it was a long weekend.
This is Labor Day.
Yep.
And we're laboring on Labor Day as we usually do.
Laboring on Labor Day.
On holidays.
Yes.
Bubbly. I heard bubbly is just angry water. True or false?
I think it's
carbonated water is just angry water.
Pleasant water, fun water. I'd call it fun water.
It's got a little temper.
I'm gonna mute my laptop.
Okay. Too popular today. Okay. So it's Labor Day. It's a long weekend. And is this the calm before the storm? Because
regarding school,
many students are going to be returning to the classroom.
I'm glad I'm not returning to the classroom.
Yeah, me too.
Or the virtual classroom.
Yeah, I think I finished my entire school experience at the perfect time.
Yep.
I graduated 2019. Couldn't have asked for a less eventful, better time to graduate.
Yep.
Shout out to everybody who's still in school this year and last year, because it's really not a fun time, not an ideal time.
I graduated in 2018, so I'm pretty far removed. I don't even remember. Right. I'm starting to lose my memory on a lot of the things that went down in uni. But you were telling me some crazy stuff going on in the U.S. at Northeastern University.
Right.
So if you want to kick it off and talk a little bit about what's going on, then that'll take us down a rabbit hole, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah. So I just read a headline this morning. Northeastern University, a school in Boston, close to some of the Ivy Leagues, have allegedly kicked out 11 students who were found to have not been respecting social distancing guidelines. So I think they were in a dorm partying or just hanging out, not wearing masks.
How many people?
11. They were found, and they were told, you're going to get tested, and then you're to be picked up and leave immediately. No refund. So your $35,000 tuition and your cost of residency and everything else are completely non-refundable. So I've got an array of thoughts.
These are our opinions. I'm just saying that.
That's so what I just said is a fact.
Yep.
What is to follow will be opinion. Firstly, I'm sure technically the school is within their rights to do something like that.
Sure.
I'm sure it was laid out in the terms of residency or whatever else that they could take that kind of an action if you're found to not be respecting social distancing. Were the students in the wrong? Yes. Both technically and morally, they were in the wrong. But where it gets interesting is, as an institution that specializes in dealing with kids, young adults, who you should know to be irresponsible, you obviously anticipated this happening.
There's no way that you can control kids partying on Frosh Week. There's no way that you can control what they're going to do.
There's absolutely no way.
Absolutely no way. They're going to do it whether we like it or not, whether there's a pandemic, whether the earth is on fire.
100%. So is this going to spark a lawsuit?
Yep.
Probably. I mean, I think the institutions need to take more responsibility.
Yep.
For what they're going to do.
Yep.
Because if you put people in that kind of an environment, which is just such a social thing, and act like you've set these rules and therefore you're not liable for what happens, that's really not fair, I don't think. And
just last month, too, everyone was complaining about Harvard going online.
Right.
And having their tuition stay the same.
Right.
Which, again...
That's an interesting case. That's an interesting comparison, because Harvard has the biggest endowment in the world.
Yep.
They've got like a $5 billion endowment, which means they're the richest school, which means they're the best suited to accommodate something like that. Mm-hmm. And if the most well-funded school is saying, look, we can't sustain opening our facilities, and having students and doing in-person classes and whatnot, then what makes you think some B school, no offense to Northeastern or whatever it may be, with a way smaller endowment, with way less resources, can do something like that safely?
Yeah.
If the richest, best school is saying, look, there's no way we can do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is just a larger issue. And a lot of people are starting to understand because of COVID, but even before that, that universities are largely a business, which is why they're not lowering the tuition.
Absolutely.
The tuition is the same price when you go to Harvard, whether you're clicking www.harvard.edu or you're walking into a classroom.
Right.
These are businesses. And so you're right. It is within their rights to not refund them and stuff. But I don't know, on a moral level, we're all shifting to digital, and I think that all these universities are going to follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, obviously not. They're still going to try and take as much as they can. But yeah, this is a larger issue, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that these are, at the end of the day, businesses and not just schools.
Yeah, and a lot of it is reputation based.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this saying that I'm not taking credit for, but it's like the Rolexification
Mm-hmm.
of private education institution,
Mm-hmm.
because like the Harvard badge is a status.
Yep.
Right. So I think there's a really interesting industry that we're getting into now, which is like the decentralization of education and not having to rely on some like prestigious, arguably pretentious institution like Harvard.
Yeah.
Two very interesting conversations. Like the educational institute as a business, totally agree. It is first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they take enough responsibility to say, guys, we can't possibly accommodate people in class right now, you know, maybe beside from like labs and very like niche cases. And if you're working in a science lab, you're well protected. Like a mask is
Yep.
one of several like PPE that you're wearing.
Yep.
But I mean, like it's so blatantly obvious that these less funded schools are just reaching, you know, trying to make money off the
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Mm-hmm. We could almost do an entire podcast on schools and stuff.
Yeah,
Just the way that it all works.
I know. I think their residences are open. I
See,
know
that makes no sense. Wait, at Harvard as well?
Yeah. In some capacity. I'm not sure the specifics. I just know that they've said, as you say, no class.
Yeah.
I know at my alma mater at U of T, they've made a few changes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing a hybrid class. So most online, some is in person.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've done is every residence is now a single residence.
Okay.
So
you're not living.
when I went to school, I lived on campus and I had a roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So now every single student is guaranteed private dwelling, which is nice, but U of T has the largest endowment in Canada.
Yeah.
And that's a liberty that they can afford to take, which other schools can't.
Yeah.
So these other schools that can't afford to give students private rooms, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to compromise safety in some other capacity.
Yeah. What an issue.
And even a place like U of T, which you'd like to think would be responsible enough to take the classes online, they're doing some form of in-person.
Yeah.
There's just so much factor for human error and for kids being kids. What are you going to do?
I haven't looked into what McMaster's doing. I should probably look into that. I'm very disconnected from what's going on there. Yeah. Wow. But the kids aren't going to stop partying. And I think that, like, in my opinion, I don't know if they should have been, kicked out of school without any refund or anything like that.
Right.
I really don't know how fair that is.
Right.
Because you're almost setting them up for failure.
And here's the thing. It's not that they're partying because they're Harvard students, or it's not like they're partying because they're Northeastern students.
Mm-hmm.
They're partying because they're 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know? This happens in, outside, and around the university institution.
Yeah.
So you, as the institution, I think, should be the one to take responsibility.
Yep.
And say, listen, we know how kids are. You know, dogs tend to wag their tails and bark.
Yep.
You know this. Don't
Yep.
pretend that it's,
Yeah.
completely out of your control.
No, I agree.
That's what I think. So I'm very curious to see what kind of like litigation this sparks, if anything.
Yeah. And on Canadian soil, more locally, Chatham-Kent level, kids are going back to school. And I think everybody's doing it a little bit differently. Some people they're staggering which grades go back to school when and all that kind of stuff.
I know somebody in my family recently made a decision about sending her daughter back.
Interesting. That's
and
a big
she
topic.
was given a decision
Yep.
whether she wants to do online, Zoom school, or
Is it a public or private school?
Whether she wants to send them back, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would think public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's nice to give the option.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a lot more sympathy with younger school, like primary, elementary school, because like those are really formative, important years.
Definitely. Dude, this is going to screw up those kids. More so than COVID. That's my opinion. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Having them socially distanced, they can't touch each other, like all these different things.
Right.
Like, what does that do psychologically?
Like, listen, I have a lot of sympathy if you're 18, 20, young adult, and you're not able to experience the university experience as you would otherwise. I have sympathy for that, but I have way more sympathy for somebody with like a 6-year-old child who's now, like, as you say, like lacking these basic like social development.
Like, what does that do?
Which are so important.
Like, what does that do to them?
Well, I think it speaks to like a broader trend of what's happening is crisis accelerates innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that as everybody's flocking to Zoom and everybody's moving online and nobody's going back to work. This has just exacerbated the whole process. Yeah. And as kids become more connected with technology, like last week we were talking about how glued we are to our phones and how we're starting to merge with artificial intelligence and computers. This is going to accelerate that. Yeah. We're replacing more physical contact with electronic communication. Mm-hmm. And you know, is it going to be different? Yeah, but I think it's like some kind of adaptive challenge that we're evolving into.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
We're all more connected to technology than we were in the past.
Yeah. So you have some school boards that are going to be embracing that technology, but then this new private school just opened called Freedom Collective, and they're doing all classes, all activities outdoors.
Right. And that's really going to resonate with some people.
All year round. Mm-hmm. And so I believe tuition's like $975 a month, and there's some registration fees and blah, 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 whatever. It'll be interesting given our geographical area, what that's going to look like in the winter.
I would hate that.
Yeah, you would hate that. You're always cold. Yeah. So that's interesting. Somebody's kind of stepping up to the plate. I'm sure people are going to be watching that model and be like, okay.
So I didn't know anything about this before you told me. Do you know who's behind this?
Elizabeth Downey Sunnon. She actually used to be in this building. She had that art studio down the hallway there. Okay. So they're building out like a facility and everything right now for indoor stuff, but this school is completely outdoors. So, and I don't know how it's like, are they social distancing? Maybe, I don't know. I was with a grade 5 teacher this weekend, and I was kind of asking her about like what her experience, like what's going on in her school board. And so each classroom is in a bubble. So they can only play with their classmates at recess. They can only interact with those classmates within their own classroom. Like they can't hang out with the grade 6s. They can't hang out with the other grade 5 class. Gotcha. And the teachers are told to social distance the kids in the classroom as best as possible. That's the protocol.
Okay. I know even when I was back in elementary school, they had the schoolyard segmented based on how old you were. Yeah. Right. So if I was a grade 1, I wouldn't be allowed to mingle with the grade 8s for.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools started doing that because, like, you know, bullying and peer pressure and whatnot. So I think, you know, the grade 1 to 3, let's say, would have like way more chaperones, less dangerous stuff around. Then there'd be like something for the middle grades, something for the later grades.
Yeah. I don't think we did that.
But now it's like out of necessity. Yeah. Did you go to a smaller school?
I went to St. Anne's in Blenheim.
Sounds like a small school.
I guess so. Eventually we had JK through to grade 8. But at the beginning, I used to go to another school, and then you transferred over to St. Anne's afterwards. Anyway, sorry. I just remember like the playgrounds and stuff were fenced in, and only the grade 1 to 3 could play on them. But everywhere else was kind of open territory, I feel like. I can't remember. Gotcha. But I don't remember like the strict, like putting people in their own little space.
Yeah, mine was segmented like that. Now it's out of necessity, though. You can't.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with the whole virus going around. See what the levels look like.
This is day 0 right now.
This is day 0. Tomorrow people start to go back. And we'll see what happens. This is pretty big.
The economy's made a lot of progress. Yeah. And a lot of people have been talking have been prophesizing a second wave
Yep.
for a long time now. So we're finally going to see what that looks like, for better or worse. I know I heard an interesting statistic recently that unemployment is down a lot from where it was. So I know unemployment peaked at around 17% in April. And bear in mind, we were right below 3% before that.
Yeah.
So this is the most massive spike in unemployment we've seen in recent history for sure. But peaked at 17% in April, and as of July, it's back down to around 8%.
Wow.
So you could say that we're halfway back to normal, which is a good indicator. A lot of good economic indicators right now, but it really makes me wonder if all this progress is just going to be lost.
Yeah.
Now that we're doing this.
Something really ticked me off the other day.
What?
So sometimes when I'm driving, I don't have Apple CarPlay. My truck doesn't have Bluetooth, any of that. So sometimes I tune into the radio.
Okay.
88.1 CBC.
Okay.
Okay. I just like to, most of the time it's virus related crap.
Aren't people saying defund the CBC?
So listen to this. I'm listening to CBC. It was interesting. They were having people call into the show. Are you putting your kids back to school? Are you leaving?
Public opinion.
Little public opinion time. I'm like, cool. Let's listen in. So this dude from London, Ontario calls, and she says, the radio host says, so and so, are you going to be sending your kid back to school? And he says, yes, without any hesitation. She says, oh, interesting. She's like, I feel like you should be a little bit hesitant. And he's like, nope, not at all. And I really want to get into the fact that this is all being exacerbated by the media and how big this is. And I feel like you guys are amplifying the fear mongering and all that stuff. She hangs up on him and they cut right to commercial.
That's interesting.
And so, oh man, it just really irritated me because I do know that they're funded by some people.
They're publicly funded, actually.
They're public. Anyway, it just really irritated me that she just hung up and would not let him say that piece. Now, mind you, he's directly impacting their image by saying they're fear mongering. I understand that, but if it's an opinion,
so sorry. Did they hang up after he said yes, or did he accuse them of fear mongering?
Fear mongering. He said the media is fear mongering, making this issue much larger than what it seems. It's all we hear. And then she hung up. She said, okay, we're going to cut to commercial break, and then done.
Fair enough.
Gonzo. So that just really irritated me, and I saw it like firsthand. Would you classify that as censorship?
Well, here's the thing. The media is in the business of blowing everything out of proportion.
Yeah.
Every reaction is an overreaction.
Yeah.
So do I think that's true? Yeah. But sensationalist journalism is just what modern journalism is, for better or worse.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting, though, that CBC is publicly funded. Like, the people you mentioned who pay for it are you and I. And it is a very interesting question. Should broadcasting be funded by taxpayers? I don't know. A lot of people who are in support of CBC, who are in support of the public funding, say that we as Canadians are lucky to have such a bipartisan broadcast network that's state-owned, and that we're lucky to have this standard of journalism, because in most countries, you think that's propaganda, you ain't seen nothing, which is very true.
It's true.
Right? If we look at it, compared to some other state-run media, CBC is pretty neutral. But, stuff like that, it really begs the question, should we as taxpayers pay to have a certain narrative that we may or may not agree with propagated?
Yeah.
Like, whether you think COVID is a threat or not, I think is a separate issue.
Yep.
You're entitled to your belief.
Yep.
And you're entitled to think whatever you want. But yeah, that's really interesting.
There's just a few,
cut somebody off.
There's just a few key layers there. It was an opinion piece. There were people calling into the show. Give your opinion.
Yeah.
And then if their opinion simply did not match what the CBC was trying to push,
right.
Like even her saying you should have some hesitation about sending your kid back to school, is like trying to pivot exactly what he's trying to say. So I feel bad for this dude. I feel like I would have loved to hear him out, and I would have loved to hear that back and forth, having that difference in opinion. but his opinion, I guess, was not valued. So
Yeah, and that's a really tricky issue, because I think like open discourse where you're allowed to disagree with each other is better for everybody involved. Like, let's let the best idea win.
Yeah.
Let's let it be a meritocracy of ideas, and because if you don't like your idea being contended, then maybe you have some kind of a weak spot that you don't want addressed.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not a COVID truther. You know, I understand the severity of this. I understand how contagious it is, but it's a really broad question, because, you know, to what extent should the journalist get to play into the narrative, especially in an opinion piece?
In an opinion piece, they should play no. They're just asking the questions. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah. But
so that was a bit of a bummer.
Right. And just to play devil's advocate, what if he says, no, I'm not hesitant at all. In fact, I think we should all kill babies and do drugs and this and that.
Keep the conversation going.
So at what point are you allowed to steer the narrative?
Keep the conversation going. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Unfortunately, everybody has an opinion now. We have to listen to it. Do I think everybody should?
Everybody should what?
Have their own opinion? I don't think we have a choice. I don't know. I think they should have just let it play out. I mean, and here's the other thing. If he was to say, let's kill babies and let's do whatever, that's not on topic. Let's bring it back to the topic at hand.
Right.
Even that, you know. So anyway, that was an interesting little radio moment that I had last week. So thought I'd share that.
It's tough because, you know, people are so easily misinformed that it is dangerous that any one person can develop some kind of credibility and have people trust them. And whether it's an institution like CBC, whether it's a public figure, whether it's anybody, you know, they can develop a following and they can develop this kind of credibility where people listen to what they say, for better or worse. And like on the extreme end of the spectrum, you have like cult leaders and dictators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really a sensitive topic. Who has a right to control the narrative, and at what point is it for the public good to silence certain people? And, you know, like, I'm all for free speech, but if somebody's rallying to kill babies, you know, where do you draw that line?
There's no way to draw the line. Or just beating a dead horse. All right, let's get into something else here. Good luck to all the families sending their kids back to school. We'll see what happens.
I'd like to see some kind of statistic for like percentage of who are doing digital, who are sending their kids back.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and if you're a mom or a dad or somebody listening and you're sending kids back, leave a comment, okay? Comment never hurt anybody. Leave a comment. Let us know what you're doing with your kiddos.
We're going to hear soon in the news.
Yeah. Jared, Softbank. You may have heard of Softbank. I've heard of Softbank.
Thank you for the pivot, Jared, Softbank. Okay. You guys heard about this? So there's been a major tech rally in the stock market this past month. It's all over the news. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Google, everything's going crazy. So the stock market has been more than recovered since things got to their worst late March, early April. But as of around early August, things have really taken up, particularly the Nasdaq, which is the exchange for tech-based stocks like Google, Apple, what have you. So things were going good, and then they started going really good. And a lot of people were speculating about what's causing this huge market rally. And a lot of the common opinions were, first of all, it's all the money. It's all the money being printed. It's all this new stuff flowing through the economy, which certainly plays its part. A lot of people were speculating it's all the new retail traders. Now there's more retail traders than ever, thanks to the Robin Hoods and the Wealth Simples of the world. A lot of people were saying that it's these young traders who now have access to the platforms, who are doubling down on their favorite brands like Tesla, Amazon, etc. How bad is that going to sound?
I don't know. Can you guys hear that?
I think there's some drilling, maybe?
There's some drilling going on. If it comes on again, let's pause and see if our little lights light up.
Okay. So anyway, a lot of people were speculating, and I'm sure it's a combination of the things, but people are saying, look, the market is absolutely booming right now. The Nasdaq's booming. Tech is booming. Is it really all because of these retail investors? Is it really all because of the money circulating in the economy? And turns out that Softbank, which is a Japanese conglomerate, they own companies in a lot of technology, resources. They're very well diversified. But anyway, it turns out that Softbank made a $4 billion investment in a few tech companies, including Apple and Tesla, who saw massive rallies in August. Like, I think since pandemic, Apple's up about 250%. It's more than doubled in size. Tesla's probably 5x'd. So it begs the question, is this really all because of retail investors like you and I on Robinhood? Turns out it was this big investment. And what's interesting is they were using options, which is like a fancy form of financial derivative, which allows you to like leverage how much money you have and buy way more. So basically how it works is if I think a stock price is going to go up, I buy a call option. So let's say Apple is worth $100 a share, and I anticipate it's going to be worth $120 a share. So I buy a call option, which gives me the right to buy at $100 later when it's $120. So this company buys $4 billion worth of options. Now what's interesting...
Can't hear
Not
it.
that bad. Okay. No. All right, I guess the drilling's not that bad. So what's interesting is one options contract is valid for 100 shares.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Right. So when somebody's buying a call option, somebody on the other end has to be selling this call option.
Yes.
And you buy options from typically a options brokerage or a hedge fund or something like that. And these companies want to minimize their risk because this is a lot of money. So what they do to hedge their side of the investment is if I buy one option for 100 shares, the hedge fund might buy 50 shares just to hedge their bet, just in case the stock goes up. They're at least covering 50% of their losses. Now, an options contract might cost $2 a share. So let's say, for example, I buy one contract, it costs $2. I can stand to make $20 per share. I can stand to make $200. So I could potentially make $200 with a $2 risk. Now, in order to cover that risk, the hedge fund is going to be buying 50 shares. And if 50 shares are worth $100, they're going to be buying $500. So for my $2 expenditure, they have to pay $500 to cover themselves.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how a $4 billion investment in call options is going to lead to these.
It was
hedge
all
funds.
call options?
Yes. Is going to lead to these. A call option is basically just a strong bet that the stock's going to go up.
Yeah.
So if I buy call options to the tune of $4 billion, you could imagine how these hedge funds and investment banks have to buy stocks to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars to hedge their bet.
Yeah.
And that's what sparked the market.
Insane. What a little hack.
Yeah.
So is this illegal?
No, absolutely not. So here's the thing. As an investor like me, you know, my call option purchasing power wouldn't be enough to shift the market.
Yeah.
But
$4 billion.
A whale like Nasdaq, well, it's not even the 4 billion. A 4 billion is a drop in the ocean.
Okay.
But if all these companies that are hedging their bets have to buy 50% of the potential upside for the investor, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And as the stock goes up, they have to buy even more.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Damn.
if I anticipate the price is going to go from 100 to 120, they buy 50 shares. And then it goes up to 110, they buy even more shares. And it goes up to 115, they buy even more shares because they're just trying to cover their butts, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And if you're investing that kind of money at that level, you're moving the entire market. Your demand is noticeable over the entire market. So people see that going up. It starts gaining momentum. And then all the momentum plays start piling on. All the Robinhood traders say, whoa, Tesla's up 100%, 200%. I got to get in on this.
Yeah.
They start buying it,
Yeah.
which accelerates the whole thing. And it's kind of like a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
You invest a lot. The hedge fund invests a lot. Price goes up even more. You keep investing. Hedge fund keeps investing. More people keep getting excited. And they just all pile in.
It's like a wave.
Right.
Wow.
So that explains why companies have tripled and quadrupled and even 10x'd.
Yeah.
In the case of a few companies in tech.
Yeah.
All in a matter of like 1 month.
Insane.
Absolutely. So it's one company.
Hmm.
And I think they sold a huge chunk of their profit on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
And the market tanked like 10%.
I was going to say, I looked at my Quest trade and I was a little
Right.
bummed.
Are you invested in any tech?
Yeah.
So, so a lot of tech lost about 10%.
Yeah. When did this news come out?
Saturday, I think.
Okay.
Friday?
That would be, yeah.
Yeah. But at this point, they had already sold a lot of their position.
Yeah.
Now, in the grand scheme of things, a 10% correction is nothing considering the 200, 300, 500% rally that preceded it.
Yeah.
You know, and people are calling end of the world now.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But yeah, one company, if they use leverage like that to have 100 times their power in terms of purchasing power, it's crazy how quickly that can add up.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to look more into that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So I think the CEO is Masayoshi's son. So congratulations, Masayoshi.
Yeah.
You just made a bag.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, it's your birthday on Friday.
It is.
So happy birthday.
If you do the math, thank you. First of all, if you do the math, it is September 11th.
Yes. Jared was born on September 11th, 1996. So just outed his age. Don't know if he cares about that.
No, I'm turning 24.
Turned 24.
I don't care. It's about how old you feel.
How old do you feel,
Not
Jared?
how old you are.
How old do you feel?
I don't know. I feel like late teens.
Cool. Give us some 24-year-old knowledge. What have you learned on this earth? 24 years old.
So I'm coming on a quarter century.
Crazy.
I think if I had to sum the most profound thing that I've learned is just into one statement, I'd say probably what's my most interesting observation is how little I or anyone else know about anything at all whatsoever.
Yep.
We are all astonishingly clueless in this world. We're all just guessing and clinging on to the little shards of truth that we think may exist or not.
Yep.
And I think the sooner you can acknowledge that, probably the better. Just accept your ignorance, accept that you know nothing, but also feel a little rejoiced in the fact that no one knows anything.
Yep.
So you're not alone.
We're all just trying to figure it out, man.
We're all completely clueless.
Yep.
So that's my wisdom in my years.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
What about you? You're older than me.
It's not my birthday yet. On my birthday, we can ask that question.
Okay.
My birthday's in February, so I'll be turning 25.
Until then.
No nuggets until then, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to get into Walmart Plus?
Yeah. So this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Think Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart gets into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a subscription-based service. I think it's similarly priced on a monthly basis to Amazon Prime, around $12, $11 Canadian.
Yeah.
However, it's cheaper yearly by about 20%, 25%.
So I do have one question though.
Yeah.
Is this just for their products and stuff? So if you get groceries, you use like their Walmart Plus. Am I also going to get Walmart Music? Am I going to get Walmart Video?
Right.
You know, like.
So it has a few features. As I was saying, it's about 25% cheaper than Amazon Prime on a yearly basis. And some of the perks include free grocery delivery, which already makes my eyes light up. That would almost justify the cost for me alone. Just like that. In Canada, we don't have Walmart gas stations, but in the US and in presumably some other markets, there's gas stations connected to the Walmarts. So there's a discount on gas, there's the free grocery delivery, there's free shipping on in-store items, so anything, amongst a few other things. Where it's limited compared to Amazon is Amazon Prime has free shipping on the hundreds of millions of items on Amazon. Whereas Walmart, they've actually come a long way in e-commerce in the past 2 years.
I know they struggle with it at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with Walmart's e-commerce presence. They've got a lot.
Yep.
They've got way more suppliers now than ever.
Mm-hmm.
They've really expanded. However, with Walmart Plus, the free shipping is only for items in the actual physical stores. Right. So you get access to maybe a few 100,000 items.
And I'm sure that's probably just to start out, and then as they move forward, they
Maybe
can figure out the logistics.
And this is brand new territory to them.
Yeah.
And it's like using the numbers really illustrates like how high our demands are, but you can only get free shipping on the hundreds of thousands of items in the store, not the hundreds of millions they have online. So sorry, you only get 100,000 things.
Yeah. This is a smart move for Walmart, man.
Very smart. And as you mentioned, the music, I think we talked about this off camera before. Walmart is in the bidding process for TikTok right now.
Yes.
So Walmart is in the process of joining forces with Microsoft. We've talked about Microsoft's TikTok acquisition.
Yeah.
Now Microsoft is partnering. And I think it's a really interesting play because they understand that a lot of Amazon Prime users are making purchases which are funneled by the content.
Yep.
Right? You're getting sucked in with Amazon Video.
Yep.
Or with Twitch.
Yep.
Or with Amazon Music, as you say. And now you're an Amazon customer. You have access to free shipping. Maybe you want to do a little shopping. Maybe you want to take advantage of your other Prime member benefits.
Yeah.
So I think Walmart maybe has something similar in mind. And Walmart has a few distinct advantages over Amazon in that they have a ton of retail space.
They do.
Which you can argue is losing value, which I do think it is in some capacity, but that's attractive, you know? So
I believe they own all the property that they sit on too. No, wait, that might be McDonald's.
They do not.
That's McDonald's.
They do not. They lease everything.
Okay.
In fact, they actually use undercover renters to lease it. Because if I've got a retail plot and I know Walmart's interested in it, I'm gonna highball Walmart.
Yeah.
So they get plainclothes, unidentified people to go in and lease the property, and you lease it and you sign the contract and your space has been handed over to them, and then it's a Walmart next month.
Damn.
Which is kind of funny, but
I'm sure it saves them millions.
Yeah, you don't get to be a business of that size without being a little lucrative.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But I think that's a huge advantage. They have the retail space. So I'm interested how they're going to leverage TikTok and potentially that acquisition to kind of funnel content into the sales. Like maybe you can start buying items right from TikTok. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So if they get this resource in their inventory, then it's going to be really cool to see what they do.
For sure.
In a market like Chatham-Kent, where we live, I think it'd be way more viable for me to do Walmart Plus than Amazon Prime.
I think so too.
Like Amazon offers delivery from Whole Foods. First of all, Chatham doesn't even have a Whole Foods.
Yep.
And it also targets a more broad demographic because Walmart is a lot less expensive than a Whole Foods.
Yep.
So in a place like this, I think it has a decent chance of gaining more traction than Prime.
In the rural areas.
Especially amongst some of the older people who might say, Amazon, what now?
Yeah, they know Walmart.
They know Walmart. They've been to Walmart. They shop at Walmart. So maybe that familiarity is going to help them get the older demographic.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm sorry. I got to wrap it up. I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck to all the kids going back to school. Softbank, what a bag. And Walmart, killing it. Happy birthday, Jared. Peace.
Thank you, man. See ya.